Okay, in this video I will introduce you to the main menu of Veda 2.0. So mm, under model you can select model. So if you have synchronized other models, then you can select from here, and if you double click, then you are asked whether you want to open this model in the same window or a new window. So you can have multiple models open at the same time, and you can also work with them in parallel. So if I say no, then this demo S12 will be closed, and if I say yes, then it will launch another instance of Veda front end, Veda 2.0. So you see here there are two applications open, and that opens there. Okay. Now, since this is based on Postgres, the server is running once the application starts, and it keeps on running even after it's closed. So if for some reason you want to stop the server, then you can stop server and exit, and it will do that. The next is all the modules, the main modules of the application. So navigator, browse, items list. We have seen this in the first video, but I mean, you know what this is. The items detail is this view where you see the res and you see the data corresponding to the central item. So you can navigate like this. Okay, so these are the modules. Now this is interesting, useful. So information is of three types here. One is related to time. So times attributes, we used to have this in old Veda also. The new thing here is that you have the entire content of the times documentation given here. So for each attribute where it's available, the exact information that is available in times documentation is given here, and you can search as usual. So you can type cost and everything like cost will appear here. So this is like old Veda, so I'm not going into the details of what these things are. Then this is very useful. This is information about Veda tags. So for example, tag name FI commodity, FI com. What are the fields that are supported? What are the aliases that these fields have? Which row supports what kind, or which column supports what kind of ignore character? So in C sets, for example, if you have a \I colon or a star as the starting part of the content, then that row will be ignored. So that's the row ignore character. And which types of files is this tag supported in? So FICOM, as you know, will be in any BY template or in subres, and sys settings can also have a commodity table. So similarly, FI process will be supported only in the base A templates and in subres. So this, I think, will be very useful for all users to know which tags support which columns and are supported in which files. So that's times, Veda, and finally information about the model. So this is the sync log, that warnings and messages that appear from after the sync process. So all means all the warnings that have been issued so far. New means from the last sync. NSV candidates. NSV stands for no seed value. So this is a new concept we have started in this version of Veda, where scenarios, files that are not providing seed values to any other scenarios, basically they can be imported in parallel. So there's a lot of parallel processing that happens in this version, and a lot of time can be saved if some of the heavy scenarios can be imported in parallel, which is what this allows to do. Model tags is a full list of all the tags that are present in the model. This one doesn't have a file open button yet, but it will come. So you'll be able to go to any particular tag that you want. And this is a pivot table, so you can just rearrange it any way you want, and you can do the filtering that if you want a certain type of tag or a certain scenario, whatever, you can locate all your model tags. And finally, usage of user-defined sets. So this is a comprehensive list of uh, the scenarios that use certain user-defined sets. So like for example, the set PP fossil is used in this scenario, and PP renew is used in this scenario. So this can be useful if you want to do some maintenance of your user-defined sets. Okay, tools. User options is quite thin right now. This will grab more things as we go. Threads count is what is the number of threads that you want to allow the application for parallel processing at various points. By default, it will stop at 8. But if you have more than 8 threads, then it's good to put a higher number here. This is to, this doesn't have any title, but this is to say which types of dummy imports will be created. So this means that all commodity types, including user constraints, will get a dummy import. This is, this is useful because this is to delete layout settings that you might have saved by mistake. So, this whole application has too much flexibility in what you can do with the layout. So, for example, on the navigator, which is on F6, you can do things like this. You can rearrange the view completely. So you see these have become tabs here, and then you can make this wider. So regular scenarios, demand scenarios, trade scenarios are all together. But you may decide that you don't like this and you just want to go back to the default, because the settings are saved. So even if you relaunch the navigator, it still turns up with those dimensions clubbed like this. So if you want to get rid of this, then you have to go to Tools, User Options, and you say that layout settings you want to delete for navigator. And now when you open the navigator, you will be back to the default layout. Okay, so that's that. User options, update times code. This will directly download the current times code from GitHub. You don't have to do anything, it just works. Delete logs we have to do. It's not complete yet. Yeah, this is interesting. You can convert all XLS files that you might have in the model to XLSX or M if they have a macro. This will happen automatically. And the converted files are, the XLS versions are saved in a backup folder, so just in case something goes wrong, you still have access to them. Jacobian analysis, there is a separate note on this somewhere on the ETSAP website, but you need to, there are instructions here, so you need to run a case with certain settings, and after that, if you launch this option, then you will see the details of the matrix that will help you in scaling. Import GDX files and import VD files. This is to GDX files here means GDX, the data GDX files, which have a complete snapshot of the input data. So normally when you make runs, this data GDX and the VD files are imported by default. But if you need to import some old data GDX or old VD files, then you can do that with this option. So this was a very quick description of all the options that you have on menus. This I am not going into right now because this is a completely new reporting layer that is under development, and I will describe this later.